Water is a major challenge for the 21st century. Shortages, poor water quality, or lack of sanitation facilities have a negative impact on the food security, health, and living conditions of disadvantaged people. For the AFD, the French Development Agency, water is also a vital resource to be protected and managed for the benefit of all. But what are the problems that we can have with water? It's pollution, floods, and stock management. In order to answer to our questions, we've met Jérémy Guyot, the head of the hydraulic studies of Seine-Saint-Denis.
Vous pouvez nous parler de l'entreprise dans laquelle vous travaillez et votre rôle au sein de celle-ci?
Oui, bien sûr.
Hi, my name is Jérémy Guyot. I'm an engineer within DEA, the Direction of the Water and the Purification for the Department of Seine-Saint-Denis, and I'm in charge of the piloting and of the optimization of the sewer system. Approximately 200 years ago, Napoleon III asked the Baron Haussmann to urbanize and to clean up Paris. The latter appeals to Eugène Belgrand to create a set of underground pipes, and these are the ways sewer Parisians are born. It is a big machine of pipes, even going to several meters diameter, allowing evacuating quickly wastewater outside the city. And then, in this time, this wastewater loaded in fences was directly sent towards natural environment. Then, they were spread in as ashes in the northwest of Paris. Then finally, the first water treatment plant, built by 1940, allowing to restore a good quality water in the natural middle. A part of the work of the DEA is to make sure of the smooth running and the maintenance of this network to water treatment plants.
Problématique qu'on a vient avec l'urbanisation croissante dans et autour de Paris, avec l'approche banlieue.
And the biggest problem comes with an increasing urbanization around Paris, what leads a disappearance of the vegetated surface and the waterproofing of grounds. We found ourselves with volumes of rainwater which could before infiltrating into ground and pursuing the cycle of water, and which finally today find themselves in the network, having steamed on roads and buildings by collecting all the pollution which were put down. These volumes of rainwater, which can be colossal, can saturate the network of cleanup, so causing floods and pouring of water polluted towards the Seine or the Marne. Thus, my work as person in charge of the hydraulic studies consists in understanding the functioning of the network to pilot him by means of the teams and by means of the automatons. I need to manage and to guess how the rain arrives on the department and which behavior to adopt according to its intensity. Which storage put I going to fill and where I'm going to empty, the objective being to protect to 100% the environment. Although the Seine River is much less polluted than it was 50 years ago, progress still needs to be made. It is now possible to measure many factors concerning the Seine, such as the height of the water, the flow of the river, as well as its level of pollution. According to the Water Department of Seine-Saint-Denis, there are 4 sources of pollution: domestic pollution from urban wastewater discharges, industrial pollution, agricultural waste, and finally, accidental pollution. Some of these pollutants are invisible to the naked eye. We are talking about micropolluants. Micropolluants are chemical molecules that are found in the water in microscopic amounts, in the order of a microgram per liter. That's the equivalent of a teaspoon in an Olympic swimming pool. Even at very low doses, these molecules can have harmful effect on living things and biodiversity due to their toxicity, persistence, and accumulation. Some molecules reach aquatic environments without being removed and can also contaminate our drinking water resources.
Travailler dans une entreprise éthique.
Oui, je le pense.
Yes, I do think so, because the focus is really on protecting the environment from all the releases to the natural environment that could occur, and also especially on the safety of the agents who go down every day to take care of the network from the inside. And I have worked in companies in the field and environment before, where it was ultimately just a facade and just a business like any other, and they have no respect for the human or eco-responsible conscience. Today, I can thrive by respecting my values, and that's pretty cool. In January 1910, the Seine reached 8.65 meters. 20,000 homes were flooded and half of the metro lines were closed for more than 2 months. A flood of the same magnitude today could affect nearly 5 million inhabitants of the Île-de-France. That event would affect access to drinking water for millions of people living in Paris. About 2 million homes will be cut off and 8% of the regional habitat will be threatened with submersion. Such an event could also disrupt the functioning of the state and the institutions and put out of use good part of the infrastructures and networks essential to the life of a modern metropolis. If Paris is relatively protected, the suburbs remain vulnerable. Numerous protective works have been carried out. If Paris is relatively protected, the suburbs remain vulnerable. Numerous protective works have been carried out, including the construction of 4 large reservoir lakes, which allow to temporarily divert and store 800 million cubic meters of water upstream of the agglomeration to limit rising water. However, the exposure of goods and people to risk has increased considerably in a century because of the increasing urbanization of the territory, the multiplication of networks, the now essential role of the mobility of people and exchanges. Flood risk management is currently spread among a multitude of actors, and Guyot also works on it.
Quel rôle joue votre entreprise pour l'environnement?
The role of DEA to protect the environment is to adapt, to maintain, and to pilot the sewer system to manage water of the 1.5 million inhabitants of Seine-Saint-Denis, as well as the millions of cubic meters of rainwater falling down on the territory every year. Without this work, there would be a very numerous saturations of network causing floods and many rejections towards the natural environment of water loaded with polluting.
Alors, est-ce que vous aimez travailler à la DEA, du coup, et vous sentez-vous bien dans votre lieu de travail?
Yes, I feel perfectly fine. Already the complexity of the network, with its 700 kilometers of water collectors and its hundreds of management stations, makes the work exciting and very challenging. I have the opportunity to work at the interface with many other disciplines, such as mapping, urban planning, sustainable development, so I learn a lot from my colleagues and everyone wants to help. I go to work every day with a big smile and think it's really essential to do something that you love every day in a wellness setting. The drinking water comes from the natural environment, either from the rivers, in surface water, or from the groundwater. Once it's made potable in a treatment plant, it is sent to households via drinking water networks. Once it's consumed, it becomes wastewater and is returned through sewages networks to wastewater treatment plants, which treat it and release it back to the natural environment. As a result, the quality of drinking water is depending on the quality of the original water in the natural environment, which must be protected from possible point of pollution, and the treatment carried out to make it drinkable, which will be more or less advanced depending on the quality of the water withdrawn from the natural environment. In Île-de-France, there are 494 wastewater treatment plants regulated by the Water Police. It is possible to schematically distinguish 3 different situations. First one, the Paris agglomeration zone, whose wastewater is managed as a unitary network. Wastewater and rainwater are mixed and fed into a wastewater treatment plant. Second one, the historic city centers are equipped with separating networks. It makes it possible to limit the impact on natural environment and to better size wastewater treatment plants to the pollution load that must be treated there. Finally, some rural communes in the outer suburbs do not have collective sanitation. For example, in the Val d'Oise, 30% of the municipalities are in non-collective sanitation, which means setting up individual treatment facilities for private individuals, but this concerns less than 2% of the population of the department.
L'entreprise a de nouveaux projets écologiques pour le futur.
Oh, yes. Well, we have big ecological projects with management of rainwaters in the plot of land with what we call alternative techniques. Thus, in fact, that's the idea to reintroduce of the nature in the urban landscape as the roof and green walls, knot of infiltration with reeds and parks, which can directly manage a part of the rainwater without needing to pass by the network. It will have the effect of avoiding saturation of the networks and thus the floods and the rejection towards the natural environment. These alternatives also allow creating ecological niche which return of life and the nature in our city. There are also projects of bathing in the Marne and the Seine, especially with the approaching Olympics.